Hi guys.
Hi.
I am alive. Yes, well done, Chris, for taking yesterday without me. Twice, no less. Bless. I didn't know about any of that until I watched the vlog this
Oh,
morning. Yeah, that's. I'm surprised you weren't seeming more pissed off in the second vlog,
well,
but
that's good.
actually you
I was a
seem
bit.
to take it quite
Well,
well.
I think it's a thing from being a stand-up where I've
Mm,
seen comedians turn up at gigs where hardly any people have come. Like,
mm,
and you've been booked for a gig,
mm.
and then it's not been promoted very well, and there isn't much audience, and then the comedians almost are kind of pissy at the people who are there, and you go, well,
Right.
don't be annoyed at these guys. These are the
These
ones
guys
that
came.
came, and they just want a nice night of entertainment, and
Yeah.
and it's already they might be feeling a bit self-conscious because there's not many people there, and so you know I think like you've tried, even if you're a bit disappointed there aren't as many people there, you've got to try and make the best of it and make it nice for the people
That's
who
a
are
very good
there.
attitude.
And I, it was very late at night, as you know.
Yeah.
I'd filmed the whole vlog once, and it had all buggered out,
Yeah,
and I
it's
didn't
never
want to
done
kind of
that
abandon it,
before.
and I wanted to kind of, like I said, it could have been my fault, but either way, I was a bit grumpy about it. But at the same time, and I think I mentioned I was grumpy about it, but I didn't want to be too shitty about it because people watching this, it's not their fault,
No.
and they're just if I'm here really grumpy at them, as if
Yeah. Screw
I'm
you guys.
resentful of having to do this thing that let's face it, no one asked us to do, and we're doing this entirely off our own backs. So if I'm then acting like, oh God, I've got this obligation to you guys, you pricks, and I'm going
They
to
could
film it
very well
twice,
just be like,
but
well,
it's not,
fine,
yeah,
bugger off
yeah,
then.
won't watch it again. No need.
Yeah, well done though, because yeah, I think like at that time of night, I would have been irked. Yeah, I was out of commission yesterday. We did manage to get a little bit of filming done earlier in the day. And that was perhaps ill-advised because I wasn't feeling great, but I thought, oh well, it wasn't anything strenuous. I basically had to just point the camera at you while you did some stuff.
Mm.
Um, but because it was set in the bathroom, I, being me, had to clean the bathroom because we're going to be filming in the bathroom. And basically, that tipped me over the edge into you've done too much. And actually, I think you did sort of describe a little bit about fibro and what it does. It was quite a good description,
Oh, thank
actually.
you. Well, I did my
Um,
best, but I knew that I wasn't the best person to do it. But
oh,
obviously, the best person to do it wasn't here right now.
well, yeah. Well, I appreciate it. I think you basically covered the bases. But yeah, I've noticed that the heat makes my fibro a lot worse, and it is very hot at the moment. And I think that exacerbates it a bit. But
Mm.
yeah, it just last day or so. Today's been basically. I was out of commission today until about 7 or 8ish when I've managed to sort of come downstairs and feel a bit more human. Now I feel like normal levels of tired and sore, whereas yesterday it's sort of uh, can't really function levels of tired and sore. Um, and yeah, most of today as well, but feeling better now. So yeah, about 7 or 8ish, I came downstairs and sat in the garden for a bit, and actually I think that helped because it
Mm.
wasn't so hot. I'm getting a bit of breeze and a bit of fresh air without having. I came downstairs earlier, planning to just sit in the garden, but even just being in the shade in the garden, I was like, oh no, this is making me feel more ill rather
Even just
than anything. So I just came back in.
sitting in there, I've spent most of the day doing, I mean, very little, and just the heat has been oppressive,
Ooh.
hasn't it? Really, and where you can't really kind of get comfortable, enjoy doing anything.
Yeah, and we're a bit limited as well because in the house we can't really like fans will do so much, but if fans are just blowing around hot air, it's not that good. And
Mm.
because of the poppet situation, while she's um, got the run of the house to an extent, we can't leave doors open or windows open because she can jump out of them. So yeah, we don't have the ability to just sort of let a breeze come through the house, which would help, I think, probably. But thankfully, on that front, actually, she's doing loads better. She's still got a limp, which I think she's going to have for a while. I think she's got to get you. She hasn't really been walking on that leg for the best part of 8 weeks. And now that she is, I think she'll have a bit of muscle wastage under there, but also when she had the cast on and the splint on, she was walking on the dressing rather than on her actual foot.
Mm.
And I think that gave her a false sense of confidence. And actually, now that she's putting weight on the foot, she's probably got a bit of pain and discomfort there, which she's got to get used to. It was a nasty break, and although it's healed well, it's probably not going to ever be like as good as new. But we saved the leg, so that's good. But yeah, so by Tuesday, they sort of said keep her in the house for a week. That's mainly so that the actual wounds on the leg can heal where they've taken the pins out. But she was so wobbly on it that I was like, oh yeah, I don't really want to go out in case she jumps somewhere that she can't get back or anything. But I think by Tuesday, she's already very keen to get out. We've given her the house, and she immediately just comes straight downstairs, straight to the back door, and just pats on the back door, wanting to be let out. I'm like, I'm sorry, baby, no, not yet. I think by Tuesday she'll be confident enough on that leg that I think it'll probably be safe, but also suitably what's the word I'm looking for, cautious, but that isn't the word I was looking for, but it'll do, about doing anything too I don't think she'll try and do anything too ambitious on it.
She's not too gung-ho. She's aware of the situation with her leg.
Yeah, I think she's
not being overconfident with it, so that gives us a bit of kind of hope that she's going to be fairly sensible.
Yeah, I feel like maybe we'll be able to let her in the garden and she won't sort of try and jump off anything tall or anything, hopefully.
But,
so that,
it's been a long old road, hasn't it? But it's been worth it. And it's, and she's adorable.
She is lovely, and actually I think she's bonded, like obviously I've had her since she was a kitten, and I would say we're fairly well bonded anyway, but I think overall of this she's definitely bonded really well with you. Not that she wasn't anyway, but she's always been quite aloof. Like she'll come and give fuss when she wants it, but most of the time she'll just keep herself to herself.
Before all this happened though, she was starting to kind of come and sit on my lap sometimes, which was nice.
Yeah.
And then like right in the middle of this, there was a kind of a period where she bit me a couple of times, and I think she was just fed up and kind of like I'm being kept in and I'm trapped. I think
she felt a bit vulnerable and a bit. She was in pain and a bit grumpy, which
and just relatable. And we weren't letting her out, and she didn't, and she felt a bit resentful and fed up and just.
But I think she's come back round from that now.
The other day, when I was in the bedroom with her, she came and kind of sat on my lap and had some cuddles and some affection, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. She's not going to just resent me for this indefinitely.
No, I think she has sort of been vaguely aware that, like, I think, like, rightfully, like, she's been in pain, so she's been grumpy, but actually she has seemed like, I don't want to sort of attribute too many, like, human emotions, but quite grateful. Like, when I've been in there particularly, or when we've let her have the run of the upstairs, she's got her own room with a double bed in it and all the nice things that she could need, but if she's got the option, she seems to want to be on the bed with me, which I like, in the other room, and wanting to be around us rather than on her own, which is nice, because she did seem quite grumpy and a bit depressed, genuinely, at one point. I think when she was in the small room and she couldn't, like, that was the best place for her, because actually the advice was to keep her in a crate for all that time, which was just not feasible, but we couldn't let her into the bigger room until she was better on that leg, because there were things she could jump on and she looked like she was trying to jump up on things. So until we could sort of make sure that she could get on and off the bed without landing on the leg or anything, we had to kind of keep her supervised. So yeah, in the middle of that she got quite depressed, I think, and was quite unresponsive to us being in there, and just, it was pretty hard going, but thankfully the end is in sight and she seems fairly well. I think she'll be limping on that leg for a while, and hopefully she'll get back to normal, but I think it's uncomfortable and probably needs a bit of exercise, actually, so having her have the run of the house will probably do her good, as long as she doesn't do anything dozy. So that's something positive there. In sort of a view to what's the world, both like on a personal level, a sort of social level with a few people I know, but then also on a national level, and then also on a global level, everything feels like it's like a pressure cooker has been just on the heat for so long now that it's starting to explode in pockets everywhere. So I've noticed on a sort of interpersonal, thankfully we haven't exploded at each other, but there've been sort of instances of friends of ours sort of having big Barneys and things, and some sort of personal life things that are nothing to do with COVID, but because of the COVID crisis are made so much worse. A few friends dealing with bereavements of various kinds and various severities, and that's that's always awful. It's
And just
extra awful when you can't do all the
mm,
things that you would normally do.
like, hey, do you want to come over, or shall we come to you? And we can,
Yeah,
and you just
just is
can't
there
do
are there
those
any things I
things.
can do for you? Can I? And I hate it. I feel so helpless
Mm.
to help, and that's sort of the like. That's one of the things that I sort of as a friend, as a like people refer to some people as only being fair weather friends, like
Mm.
they're only your friend when things are good, but actually when times are tough, they disappear. I think I'm the opposite. I think when things are good and things are fine with you, I sort of I tend to just assume that you're okay and kind of leave you to it, and I can go a long time without necessarily checking in with people I love dearly. But as soon as I know that there's anything wrong, that's when I think I come into my own, and that's when I'm very good at sort of helping and being there and checking in and doing all the things that you want to be able to do. And the lockdown has sort of denied me the ability to do that. And in the last couple of days, I've been quite ill as well, which has just meant that I haven't even really had a huge amount of energy to sort of be up and on the phone maybe and talking people through things. On top of that, I my emotions are all over the place. Like I hate to say it, but I've felt quite fragile. Like I keep crying, um, and not over my own stuff. My own stuff is fine. Our little pocket of existence is doing okay,
Yeah,
but
we are
other
very
people's
fortunate,
pain
but
is
well,
just
I got quite
I'm
emotional the other day about a cartoon about a dog dying because a friend of ours had a dog who died, and
yeah, and
it left me feeling quite.
yeah, no, I had to cry over the same cartoon.
And I think, and obviously,
Um,
it's
to
a
be fair, it's a
sad.
very emotive cartoon.
It is an emotive cartoon, and it is sad when a friend's dog dies, and you have, and we're both empathetic people, I think, in that way. But also, I think there's just, even though we're having, compared to some people, we're having a very reasonable
Mm.
um, lockdown experience. I think there are just underlying kind of not even conscious anxieties, but kind of low level stuff about what does the future hold and whatever, where you're
Yeah.
just a little bit, everything's a bit uncertain, and maybe, it doesn't take as much for emotion to kind of bubble to the surface.
I think that's it, and I think everybody seems to be experiencing that to some extent. Even people who aren't actually locking down, who are going to work, people seem to be a bit quicker um, to explode and
Mm.
a bit quicker to sort of kick off, and other people maybe a bit quicker, like myself, a bit quicker to sort of burst into tears. And maybe everybody's just running at the top level of capacity because
Mm.
of maybe all the subconscious worry and just uncertainty, which I don't think anybody handles that well. Even if you are somebody who's like a really easygoing and like just go with the flow person, like it's all well and good to be like that under normal circumstances, but when it's like I don't know when I'm going to see my family, and when it's sort of I don't know if I can afford my rent, like that's sort of that puts even the most easygoing among us to the test, I
Mm.
think. So I should mention one of the things that sort of um, is going on globally. Like obviously this is a lockdown blog and it's about lockdown and it's about sort of about it's not really about anything, but it's sort of about our lives and how we're handling the COVID crisis. And it was never really the plan to go into sort of just general political things. And I don't want to go into it in any real depth, but I think it would be remiss not to mention
Well, it's such a
the
kind of big story, isn't it?
yeah
It'd be strange to kind of omit it in a way.
yeah, and I'd actually worry that by admitting it, we look like we
Don't.
don't care,
Sure.
and we very much do care. But for context of what we're talking about, in case, well, I shouldn't imagine that if you're watching this at the moment, you'd have missed it. But I guess if somebody is looking back on this and they want to know the timeline of it, over the last few days, there's been quite extensive rioting and protests, global protests actually, but the protests kicked off, which then turned to rioting in Minneapolis, Minnesota, after the death of George Floyd. Now, the reason why this has sort of perhaps gone so global is George Floyd was a black man, and he was arrested by a white officer, and the whole arrest was videoed, and absolutely uncontestably excessive force was used, and essentially he lost his life pleading for his life with a man's knee on his neck. And he caught. I haven't even been able to watch the video because I just can't hack it. But I've read.
I think that is entirely fair.
Yeah, I don't want to watch it.
People, yeah, you shouldn't want to watch videos. Of
but I think it's important that people know the reality of it, and
sure.
I think it's important as a white person not to go, I don't want to think about it, because that in itself is privilege showing itself, of just going, I don't have to worry about this issue, so I'm not going to worry about this issue, is privilege in itself. It's uncomfortable. It's a very uncomfortable reality. Perhaps if you're in the UK, as we are, it's easy to go, well, that's over there, that's not how it is over here, but it is
and it
like that over here in
people,
different ways.
Not just black people, but other ethnic minorities.
Yeah.
You know, racism, sad to say, is still a big thing.
Yeah, and choosing not to worry about it and choosing not to think about it. Well, the phrase that keeps being said, which I'm wholly on board with, is it's not enough to be non-racist, you have to be anti-racist. And it's the classic thing of, if you just stay quiet, you are by default siding with the oppressors in an issue. Now, I don't profess to be well-read or well-educated or have any relevant experience, and the last thing I want to come across as is virtue signaling person who's just being like, oh, I care so much, it's important that you know how much I care. I'm not doing that. But on seeing some of these, because obviously that in itself as an event is awful, and it really, like I say, I haven't been able to watch the video. I have read the limited transcript of some of the things that he said. And the whole thing's just indefensible, because it continued after he lost consciousness. He wasn't resisting arrest, and the reason he was arrested was because he was accused of using a fake $20 bill. This is not that it wasn't like a violent crime.
Not an armed robber.
No,
or a thug. It's
the whole thing. It was just And
that could happen. I mean, anyone could have a bill that was given to them and they don't even know, and then it's a thing.
Absolutely.
And the idea that you would get beaten to death for that
I'm really sorry. I'm going to pause this because I keep getting a warning saying low disk space, and I'm worried that it is saving it to the wrong disk and it's going to run out of space, and then we're not going to be able to continue to film. So I'm going to pause and see if that's what caused problems yesterday. Hang on a second.